Conquer Local.
It's really a breath of fresh air. Good times.
I help leaders go from anxiety to authority under pressure.
And then let's go and get it.
It's an ecosystem.
The hardest part here is going to be getting me to shut up on this one.
Conquer Local with Vendasta, hosted by Jeff Tomlin.
Welcome to the Conquer Local podcast. Our show features successful sales leaders, marketers, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs who will inspire you with their success stories. Each episode is packed with practical strategies as our guests share their secrets to achieving their dreams. Listen in to learn the highlights of their remarkable accomplishments and get tips to revamp, rework, and reimagine your business. Whether you're a small business owner, marketer, or aspiring entrepreneur, the Conquer Local podcast is your ultimate guide to dominating your local market. Tune in now to take your business to the next level. I'm Jeff Tomlin, and on this episode, we're pleased to welcome Barry Coziahr. Barry has consulted and trained more than 10,000 small business owners, as well as delivering over 1,000 seminars and workshops to small businesses across the United States. His presentations demonstrate proven business growth and marketing tactics using real-world examples and case studies to help small businesses, authors, and nonprofits expand their activities successfully. He's also helped countless small businesses expand by putting in place effective, high-quality personnel and systems to utilize people correctly and scale their business. Get ready, Conquerors, for Barry Coziahr coming up next on this week's episode of the Conquer Local podcast. Barry Coziahr, welcome to the Conquer Local podcast. It's great to have you here all the way from Florida.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Great to come to Canada.
Virtually. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So yeah, you are virtually chatting with Canada here. Hey, let's jump right into it. For a guy that's started, managed multiple companies now, walk us through what the experience has been like getting these things up off the ground and then rocking and rolling.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've gone through a lot of learning. Obviously, you learn by running into walls and going, oh, look at that, that's a wall. And so you run into all sorts of things, and some of them are painful, some of them are less painful. And so what we feel like the best thing that we can do, we've always had an idea that we should share knowledge. And I've really appreciated all the knowledge that's been shared with me over the years from different mentors that I've picked up via books and such. It's been great to learn from their failures instead of having my own or their successes. And now we've kind of like jump in and try to help people to benefit from what we've learned, so they can have fewer pitfalls. But yeah, it's been really exciting. It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, Barry, you've had a lot of success with virtual personnel. And for somebody that hasn't thought about that and thought about integrating them into their business and the benefits, how should they be thinking about virtual personnel?
Well, I think what's great is what's helped me so much is that I started delegating the stuff that, I shouldn't be. Like, how could I maximize my time? How can my time be most effective? I have certain things that I'm really, really good at. And so I started delegating the things that would support me so that I could do more of what I was really, really good at, which is leading the team and then also, business development. So the VAs have helped me with that tremendously. Excuse me. Basically, one of the very first things I outsourced was my own lead generation, because I had a marketing company and I was really good at that. And so I outsourced the whole process where I would put to the point where I'd put people in front of me for interviews where I could talk to them. And that was great because that took so much of my time, this big chunk of time I used to spend on that, took it off my plate and made it so that now I could focus on a huge chunk of my time on business development, and then also gave me time to develop processes and procedures within the company, which then we pass on to our clients that they can use as well. But and so you started like working on meeting people so we could create new clients, but then also developing the processes and everything within the business so we could grow it. And that's just basically allowed me to grow like bigger than I've ever grown before. And then we took all that and exported it, so other people can benefit the same. So what are those big things that you could offload? That, I mean, I basically think a virtual assistant can be used in one of two ways. One, you you help increase or supplement the things that are gonna actually help you build the business, such as lead generation. So those key things are going to help you to do more of what you should be doing, right? And to supplement those things. Or two, what are the things that have to be done that really should be gotten off of your plate that you shouldn't be doing because one, you're not very good at it. Two, it's not what you want to do. Three, maybe it has to be done, but you shouldn't be the guy. You just don't want to, right? Um,
Yeah, you got to focus on the things that you're good at. I get that. Uh, so you gave one good example there of like demand gen. It's a massive function that can take a lot of time. So what is the scope of this? How many other things are there that you can think about? Hey, this is a great function for a virtual personal assistant, and it's because I think that concrete examples help people understand what is the scope and how far this can go. And you've also, by the way, got this 80-20 rule that you think about. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, the scope of things, I mean, it could be like we have a guy who does public speaking, and he would book all his own events, right? And he get paid events, right? So he took his process, which worked really well, and basically gave that to a virtual assistant who then got him twice as many speaking events. So his calendar was all the way full for the year, and they started working on next year. And then he was able to get her to start working on podcast guesting. So to get him onto podcasts. So this freed him up to work with more clients and to develop other pieces of the business. We've also got a recruitment, a lady who does recruitment. We basically have somebody who's reaching out and introducing her to clients. She's also got somebody who's scheduling her on podcasts. Then she's brought on another VA who handles administrative tasks and back-end tasks. We got doctors who handle medical billing is a big deal because insurance compliance is a big deal in the medical field. So they've trained their virtual assistants, and they've got multiple virtual assistants who handle the whole medical billing tasks, and deal with the insurance companies, which is a great money making thing for them. But they're able to bring on these people, and we help train them for them. And I mean, we've got a lawyer that she basically has her VA answering the phone and handling her email and looking and doing follow up for prospects. It just goes on and on. We've got accountants who get people to do bookkeeping tasks. We've got people that have a bookkeeper who handles all of their bookkeeping in house. That's a virtual assistant. We've even got, I mean, social media managers. It's just pretty endless, like the list. We actually have an ebook, 249 things that a virtual assistant can do for you, which I think we can offer to the people here a link to it. But it's a big long list that you can look through that kind of let you kind of assess. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Here's a good one. And then we actually help with the onboarding process, because you need then to get the whole task of onboarding. We help eliminate some of the pain of that, and you really need somebody to help you do that. And then it's great, works out great. Yeah. And as far as like the 80-20 principle, it kind of goes back to what I talked about originally. It's like you've got those if you were to take your battle plan, your list of things that you have for the day, your to-do list, let's say you had 10 things on them, there are probably 2 things that you really should be focusing on heavily, right? On that, 20%. They're the key like things that really move the needle in your business. And that's what the 80-20 principle is. It's like 80% of the results come from about 20% of the causes. So what are those 20%? What are those key things that you focus on? And a virtual assistant can either back you up so you can do more of those key things, or they can take those other 80% of things that are on your battle plan, your to-do list that you shouldn't be wasting your time on, and you could offload those to that person. So you can focus more on the stuff you really like to do, or the stuff that again moves the needle.
I think it's interesting. There's so many of us now, especially with the changes that happened through the pandemic. It's working with virtual teams is so natural for so many companies now, but there is still so many companies out there where they've just been used to an office environment and they don't naturally think of having remote people on their team, whether it's people that are directly on their payroll or whether it's virtual assistants. And so I've seen so many people have so much success and do things great working with virtual assistants. And then I've seen some people that really, they run into pitfalls as well. And so maybe tell me a little bit about some of the pitfalls that you've seen where people have been trying to implement virtual assistants. They haven't had a good experience, and how do you sort of avoid some of those pitfalls along the way?
Sure. Yeah, well, part of it is, there's a great book out there called Who, which is about hiring people. And so we kind of dig in on that process. Like, what exactly is the role or in the duties is the first step, right? So you really are, so you know what you're looking for, like who you're looking for. And then it can take quite a bit of time to find a really high quality person and to really vet that person, right? To sift through all the applicants to find the people that are super high quality. As part of what we do, we do a whole process, right? Which anybody should do if they're going to hire somebody. But we do it for them. We do personality testing, which basically helps find the key traits that are going to make that person a great fit with the company. Communication, it being one of the traits, stability, that they're kind of go-getters, right? These are all things you can measure with personality tests. IQ, which basically measures problem-solving ability, because you want somebody that can think and solve problems, and you need somebody who's intelligent. And then aptitude testing, which we do, which really is important for finding somebody who can follow instructions. Because about the most frustrating thing in the world is to give somebody a task and they can't follow. They actually don't know how to follow instructions. So we test these people, and then we interview them, and we make sure we don't trust just the tests, because we actually do interviews. We've got processes there to really make sure you've got a high quality person. But even then, no system's infallible, right? So what if you ended up with so that's one of the pitfalls. You can at least like limit the problems, right? But then again, no system's infallible. So if it doesn't work out, you've also got a team that can just quickly stop the clock and find a quick replacement to go ahead and take over. And we make that super simple for people. Another one of the pitfalls people run into is, well, that process, eventually people don't stick around forever. So people end up have things that happen in their lives, right? You might have somebody who works in your business for a couple of years, something happens, they go away. Now you've got to replace your assistant, which means you have to train a new one, right? Well, good. So did you write up processes? Did you have that person from day one writing up processes for the work that they're doing for you? So there's like a stack of processes that you could just take, and they're written up well, and you can give that to a new person, and you can catch them up to speed in a really, really short time. Also super useful for growing the team. Like, because let's say you've got that stack of processes, and you've got now you're growing the team, and you add another virtual assistant, and you want to take some of those and give it to the new one, so you can grow the team. Or you want a new person doing all of the same exact things. Well, good. Having those things written up in what they call SOPs, or standard operating procedures, right? Those are vital. So we get past a lot of those problems that you might run into by applying those pieces. And the other one that I think is really key is daily reporting. we basically, I personally don't like stuff in my inbox. My email's got enough stuff already. So we use online communication channels like little chat functions, and there's great tools out there in the world that you can use where you just get a daily report. Here's my plan for the day, that you get at the beginning of the day. Here's what I got done at the end of the day, and then maybe even a summary report at the weekly or monthly if you want. We make sure that's implemented. So yeah, and then the last thing is, which happens at the beginning and ongoing, is we act as sort of an onboarding. We help with the onboarding, which is always, takes time, takes a little bit of time. So getting a little bit of help with that makes that less painful. And then coaching, right? We're so used to working with so many different types of business owners that we're very familiar with what they might run into and using a virtual assistant. So we coach them and the virtual assistant to help bring them together as a team. And that coaching is ongoing, like on a weekly basis, quick little, meeting. Here's what I need. Here's what's happening. Tweaking things, making things, setting things back to right if they go off the path a bit. So that covers so much. Those just putting in those simple basics, what are called the usual stuff that you should be doing, but kind of get dropped out, not by just small businesses, but by small individuals and big businesses. These basics get dropped out. We keep them in, things just go so much smoother.
That's great stuff. By the way, at Vendasta here, we use the Who framework. It's a great book, and I think that it's you never get it 100% of the time when you're adding someone to the team, but I think it's gone a long way to helping us streamline our process and finding the right people when we're adding them to the team, and the insights that you get from their process, especially when you're onboarding and when you're taking people through the interview process, very, very insightful. I got a lot out of it. So one of the things that I wanted to touch base on, I keep thinking about the people that really haven't dug in and thought about some of the benefits of working, because there's so many people working with virtual assistants, because there's so many people that are converted out there right now. So for people that haven't gone down the path, like there's a lot of benefits to a business from the competitiveness point of view and to the agility of your business too. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we competitive wise, there's so much savings. I mean, if we're providing virtual assistants that are, for them, it's a great wage in their country. We've made them one of the top 10% of earners. For us, we're paying like, $10 an hour to somebody, right? And we're helping to, you're basically, our clients are paying us $10 an hour for a virtual assistant. We're paying them. They're in the top 10% of earners in their country. They're super happy. We're taking care of them. We provide them with, a lot of help to get more and more stable and to grow personally. So it's a great win for everybody. So you could actually afford to hire 2, sometimes 3 people, where you could only afford to hire 1 to begin with. And that makes it so that you can test things that you couldn't try before, or you can afford to put in functions that maybe you couldn't put in before, but now you find that they're really helping your business grow. So, there's just so much benefit to the setup, the way it's set up. And obviously sometimes you need somebody to be hands-on, and so it has to be somebody there, a physical person. But there's so many benefits to this,
Yeah. So, you walked through that, when we were talking about, avoiding the pitfalls. You walked through a whole bunch of great practices. Maybe we could sharpen a couple of things. If every business has a unique set of needs. Every business is a little bit different. And so maybe you could just touch on some of the key things to, finding a virtual assistant that is really going to meet the unique needs of your business, and and then some of those tools again on how you're managing sort of day to day to make sure that they're effective. I love the reporting that you touched on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like training is a big deal. Onboarding is huge. These are all part of, weekly meetings, and a little bit of coaching is vital. The standard operating procedures, basically write-ups of exactly how the work is done, that basically show in words. We usually do some audio and video recordings and pictures of those processes and how they go as well, making sure those are being written up from day one. And then, yeah, daily reporting, preferably in a way that doesn't fill up your basket. So those fit any business, right? Um, One of the things about the training specifically is it's great for me because like I have an automation tool that I wanted to put to work, but I just didn't have time to learn it. So I just gave a short little course to my virtual assistant, and next day it was done. And it
Amazing.
was
Yeah.
implemented, right? Yeah, it's just great, because I've already picked somebody who's super smart, so we've implemented our hiring line. We really named out who we want, who the right kind of person is. We put in the testing, um, so all of those elements combine into something that any business can use. And you might have your own processes that are key, that are particular to your business, um, which can be, trained on. Yeah, because we've already got somebody who's pretty intelligent who just can take that training, mm, pick it up, put it to work. So it's fantastic. Yeah.
I like the emphasis on documenting your processes. One of the things we talk about when we're scaling on the sales side of the business is you don't have a repeatable and scalable model until you can train somebody who can, and then in turn train someone as good as you can, and because then now you've got a repeatable machine. But a lot of the time it comes down to documenting what your process is, and then duplicating that across teams, and putting
Yeah.
systems in place that people can follow, and so that you're not reinventing the wheel when you have people leave the team and you're adding new people on.
Yeah, no, that's true. We've even gone as far with some of our processes to put in apprenticeships, right? Where after we train them on the process, then we'll have them shadow somebody else who's like awesome at it. Just go and watch them for a few hours doing it, and after they've done their training, and then getting them coached by somebody before they actually start doing it. So it depends what it is, whether you need to get that in depth, but basically you can, doing that and taking that time at the beginning, and that's really 80/20 principle too, right? Because if you think about it, people are like, oh, I'm so busy I can never afford to do that, or I can't fit it in, I can't do, all those things that you can't fit in, or many of them at least. There are plenty of things you should say no to and not use your time doing, but a lot of there are some things that people habitually say I don't have time for them, where they don't realize that if they took the time, they would save so much time over the next year, right?
100%.
It would be like the amount of time that they would save would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. What are Barry? So, what are some of the key takeaways that you want to leave the audience with here?
Sure. There are lots of things you shouldn't be doing yourself, and you should find some inexpensive help to help you get those done, and make sure that they're quality people, um, and that the only safe thing to do is grow. That's the other thing I hear is like, oh, we're so happy where we're at. It's like, okay, well, you've got to grow because something could happen, right? If you're not growing, you know well, unfortunately inflation is still going up, so if you're not growing, you're not staying the same. It's getting more expensive to run your business, and so the only safe mode of operation is growth. And you've got to add people to have them help you get things done so you can move faster, farther, and get where you want to go without stress, while having like the lifestyle that you want to have, and being able to take some time for yourself, and Yeah, and then spending more of your time doing the things you really like to do in your business. And that's what we hope that we can provide for people.
Totally agree with you. Strongly believe if you're not growing, you're dying. If you don't, even if you don't, even if you don't realize, you likely are. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Hey Barry, if people want to continue the conversation with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can. I tell you what, if they go and they download my little free booklet, the 249 things that a virtual assistant can do for you, then I'll get that communication. They can, and somebody downloaded it, and I'll at that point I'll reach out, and they can also email me directly if they want at Barry@freetime.solutions. It's not .com, it's .solutions. Freetime.solutions, and Barry, Barry. They can reach out to me that way too.
Barry, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking some of your time out of your very busy day. Probably not as busy as other people because you've found a way to manage your time more effectively. And I hope you come back and visit us again in the future.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great conversation with Barry. Delegating tasks to virtual assistants and outsourcing lead generation can significantly free up time for small business owners so they can focus on their core strengths and business development. The 80-20 principle applies here, where identifying the key tasks that drive results and offloading the rest can lead to business growth and increased efficiency. Implementing virtual assistants requires structured hiring and training processes. Defining roles and duties, conducting personality tests, interviews, and creating standard operating procedures are essential steps to ensure the success of a VA team. Regular check-ins, coaching, and ongoing communication help maintain productivity and build a stable team that brings benefits to the entire business. These are all important things for any team working together, but they become even more critical when working with remote teams. If you've enjoyed Barry Coziahr's episode discussing streamlining business operations with virtual personnel, revisit some of our recent episodes from the archives. Check out episode 621, Building Trust and Growing Your Agency with Jack Perez, or episode 536, Managing a Hybrid Team with Hassan Osman. Until next time, I'm Jeff Tomlin. Get out there and be awesome.
You've been listening to the Conquer Local podcast presented by Vendasta. Tune in next week for a new episode. Guest discovery and produced by Suleiman Adam. Marketing by Rory Lawford, Nicole Lozon, and Suleiman Adam. Executive producers, Brendan King, Jeff Tomlin, and Suleiman Adam. Recorded at Vendasta headquarters on the Canadian Prairies.